Today on Talk of the Aisle, we're hanging out with Dani, the founder and creative mind behind DEevents. I said that correctly. Known for their thoughtful planning, seamless execution, and a genuine care for their couples, which is something that we really loved about her. Dani and her team bring a warm, personal touch to every wedding that they work on. And we'll be chatting about how she got started, what keeps her inspired, and kind of the moments that make it worth it, and a whole lot of other things. So welcome, Dani.
We're so glad you're here.
Happy to be here. So happy to be here.
Yeah, we were just chatting offline before we started, and I had to stop it because we were having such a good conversation. So, we'll get to that, but yeah, just excited to kind of chat with you today and learn about you.
Yeah, so Dani is an incredible planner that we have the joy to work with in this industry. So Dani, I would love to just start by getting to know you a little bit.
Sure.
How did you first get into the wedding industry?
So I have a little bit of a uniquer story. I started helping my sister plan for her wedding in 2020. During the wedding planning in, that time of the year, there was a lot of struggle, I think, for people in the industry. Obviously, 2020 was hard for everybody, and the lack of weddings that were happening for industry professionals was really, just upsetting and disappointing. So because of that, we were working with a catering company where you had a planner included in the package. And because of that, planners kept quitting. And we worked with about 3 different people throughout the entire process. We felt like going into the day, there was a little bit of just like confusion about some of the details. There wasn't totally, we had a point person who was fantastic. But again, she jumped in the last couple weeks. So I acted as the day of coordinator. I didn't know it at the time, but as her maid of honor, I was helping move people around, keeping us on track, getting things for her, being her bridal assistant for the day, and ultimately creating, a list and kind of structure that helped the framework for what my day of coordination looks like now. I was also working with the catering staff. So I had been in hospitality for years, working in a couple different restaurants, doing a few different roles. And I felt like, just was easy to connect with them. And at the end of the night, the company asked if I was interested in interviewing for an assistant planner job.
That's crazy.
And I always have loved the wedding industry. I remember growing up watching 27 Dresses and just like obsessed with that movie.
Yep, same.
Yeah, and everything about it. I love weddings. I think it's just an amazing part of life. And so I never really thought coming out of college that was going to be where my life path was going. But ultimately, so happy that happened the way it did. So worked with them for a few years, bounced around before starting and landing on my own.
I love that. I love how the world it just takes you where it wants you to go. And if you're open to it and you follow it, such beautiful things can come from that.
Which isn't, I think, easy for a lot of people to do because they usually are like, this is
my plan.
This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And a lot of people kind of fall into the trap of like, oh, I don't want to fail others by not doing this sort of thing.
Absolutely.
I mean, it was a pretty big sign that you were offered a job basically on the spot.
Yeah. It was, again, it just kind of felt like a natural fit. I love people. I love the hospitality industry. I love the service industry. And I'm super creative. Growing up, I had a little cake business called Coop's Cakes.
I love that.
Yeah.
Tell us more about that. Just a little bit.
So, little fun fact. I know that I definitely have a very passionate personality. And when I find something that I love, I kind of go knees deep in. And I, for some reason, was obsessed with the Cake Boss. Buddy Velastro, he was my guy. And I watched every single episode and I just got really into cake decorating. I thought it was just like a fun creative outlet. I grew up dancing, so kind of, again, all in the arts field and, working for a lot of kids and nannies, I had the opportunity to make a lot of children's birthday cakes. And I made a couple, and moms were like, "Oh my gosh, did you make this? Can you make one for my kid?" So it blew up a little bit. I had a little website, I had business cards. I was making cakes for like my high school and different events. And I would show you on my phone my 2013 and 2014 camera roll of all the cakes I made. And I love cake. I'm such a cake person. It's my favorite.
Dang. Now, do you have the wedding cake every wedding?
Oh my God, every wedding. And I always will try to, I have a hard time eating at weddings, so I always will try to take it home and have it at like 1 a.m. because that's the best time for cake.
Because like, also, when are you gonna do it?
Usually for us, if we take home cake, Melissa's eating it on the way home.
On the way home.
Oh, that's a good
Like
idea.
a little celebration for myself for getting it.
As I fall asleep in the passenger seat.
We're very different.
Meal in one hand, cake in the other.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And then like usually some upbeat music because I'm just like I'm still like thriving off of like that dance floor, like that.
Oh my gosh, the adrenaline is so high on the drive home. I'm like, I have to go home and tell my partner every single detail. And he's like, it's 1 a.m. I'm so tired. And I'm like, but just listen to this first.
But then this happened.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, always been interested in arts, in artistic things, and yeah, just kind of felt like the right fit.
I love that about you. When I read that about your cake business, I'm like, oh my God, she was just like an entrepreneur at heart, like starting at a very young age. Like,
Totally.
what a beautiful thing. And another thing that I really love about you is you're very artistic. But you also have this very type A about you.
Totally. It's very interesting because I feel like my family, like my mom is very type B, my sister and my dad are very type A, and I'm a little bit of a mix.
Yeah.
And I think that's what, makes me a successful wedding planner is that I have the type A to stay really organized,
Structured.
Yep. Exactly. Thinking on my feet, problem solving, making confident and swift decisions on the fly, but then also having this like creative, whimsical, fun side of myself.
Yes.
Where I'll be like on my iPad and then I'll be like dancing on the side of the dance floor. And yeah, it's a nice combo for wedding days.
It's an incredible combo. Like, yeah, I don't know if people really understand how.
I don't think it's common.
No, it's not common. And also like how much of a gift that is to your couples.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, 'cause I think it allows you to be more intuitive about the way that you move through the experiences and with your couples, right? Because
Absolutely.
couples are all different, have different dynamics, and there's different times where you need to kind of approach everything a little bit differently. So like that's something that we've always like made a priority is kind of like get good at reading the room and understanding how to, act, because there's times where we can dial ourselves up to 100 and just like be like 100% all in. And then there's times where we're like, all right, we need to calm it down.
Right. Like this room needs
a little more self-spoken.
Yeah. This room needs calm. It needs just like gentleness and
And I think that's where, I studied psychology in college and really was always interested in the psych field. My grandfather worked till he was 97 as a psychiatrist and dream analyst. So I grew up, really talking to him about mental health, dreams, this whole psych world, and thought for a lot of my life that that was going to be my path and be a child psychologist. So I think that background has helped me understand people a little bit better. And then, like you said, kind of being able to mold yourself. It's not like I'm changing who I am as a planner, but I have a lot of clients who are like very type A, and we can talk a little bit more about what our process is, but we go very heavy on the planning side from the beginning to allow them to take a break down the road. And there's some clients who are like, we just want to do start to finish, plan absolutely everything. We want to meet with you on a weekly basis. We want to talk your ear off and go 5 minutes over every time. And then there's other clients that it's like, they don't want to plan. They don't want to do anything. And they just really want someone to be there to guide you. So really being able to mold yourself. It's something I talk about, which is why we do offer custom packages as well, because everybody's at a different point. Everybody needs different things. Everyone needs different supports throughout the process. And, having such rigid structures like, hey, this is only what we have, 1, 2, or 3, doesn't really work for the industry, in my opinion, because a lot of people are going to feel like it's more of an impersonal experience rather than something that's truly tailored to them.
Right. And we don't want to fit people in boxes that they don't belong in.
No, not
I
at
don't
all.
believe in boxes.
No, not at all. That's my favorite part of a wedding day is I have a client in 2027. She's wearing a purple dress. And
Yeah, girl,
Wow.
I said to her on her inquiry call, I was like, there's no rules here. You can do whatever you want for your day. You want to do cocktail hour first? You want to have a 10-hour reception? I have another client who's having a 2.5-hour cocktail hour next.
I love that.
And they love cocktail hour. They wanted a long cocktail hour.
Yeah.
So, I
That is,
think
That's like really different.
I love that.
Because I think like candidly, you'll have conversations with vendors and they're like, yeah, like who cares? Couple can do whatever they want, and like not a lot of structure. But then I think it's easy to get stuck into the trap of kind of like not wanting to stray your clients away from more traditional
Totally.
experiences. We often say that there's no rules to our clients when they ask about things and timing, even like little things like that, like flipping the cocktail hour before ceremony, for example.
Yeah.
I think a wedding's supposed to be a reflection of the couple.
Yeah.
And I think that should be the guiding thread versus like, okay, what does the wedding look like? And then like, let's just kind of mimic that sort of approach.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's like the basis of my brand is creating these unique experiences that reflect the personalities of our clients. And, this is your day. You only get to do it once, hopefully. And, you want to make sure that it's not just fulfilling for you and your partner, but for your entire world and your loved ones. And they're walking into this room that you've spent a year and thousands of dollars planning. And if it looks like a generic wedding that you see on, every wedding show ever, that's not what you want. You want your brain to take the couple extra seconds to be like, oh my gosh, they love to travel and look at this, luggage tag seating chart and look at their dog's names on the bar sign. And, he loves to grow flowers and we have, seeds. Patty. We have seeds at every seat, really just adding those tiny little touches. And there's tons of budget friendly ways to do that. I think that that's the common misconception is that to have a really unique and, true to who you are, personality based wedding, it needs to be super expensive. And that's just like, not the case.
Yeah.
I'm a DIY queen. I am a crafty girly, and there are a million ways to do really high-end expensive things on a budget, and having someone to kind of guide you and tell you could do these things, like I say to my clients all the time, I ask them what they do for their job. And I say, I would not know what to do, what my first step would be walking into your first day of work. So it's impossible for you to know everything that you're supposed to when planning this day and, understanding that there's 10 million things to do this one thing that you only know how to do one way.
Right.
I think that's really important is the ideas of the wedding planning process as well, outside of just the planning and logistics.
Yeah.
I think like framing it for them in that way is really helpful. I've read a post recently and it said all weddings are luxury weddings. Like weddings are luxury, right? And we don't have to go down that particular road, but I just think that like it's easy to kind of miss the point in a lot of ways, and to feel like, oh, if I can only afford $100,000 wedding
Plus or 200,
or like that's not enough, and like it's embarrassing, and like
or it needs to look this way to be considered,
Right.
But like no, you can have a really elevated, beautiful experience for your guests and keep it, within your means and
100%.
yeah, and I love that. Like I feel that I mean, I'm a millennial and I love millennials, but one of the things that I really truly appreciate that Gen Z is bringing to this industry is true authenticity. Like, and I'm not saying that, millennials aren't authentic, they are, but like, but they're not afraid to
pervasive.
Yeah, they're not afraid to break the rules because there are no rules, and I love that. Like,
Absolutely. And I think that's just, again, the Gen Z approach to wedding planning at the state of the wedding industry a couple months ago. It's something that we talked about, that there's a lot of the breaking the barriers in the industry at the moment and having this very fluid and progressive approach to wedding planning and kind of breaking the mold of seeing there's social media, honestly, I feel like has really taken away some of the specialness of weddings, because comparison is the thief of joy. And looking at that, every day as a bride, and like all of these incredible lush styles of weddings, and feeling like mine is not going to be good enough because I don't have the budget to do that, is just, I really try to reframe that in my clients' minds. And, I've definitely created this brand that's a little bit more of the fun, whimsical, untraditional. So I attract that type of client that wants that type of event, which is amazing. And I feel, truly so lucky to have the clients I do, because they want to do fun stuff. They want to do unique stuff. My client yesterday, we're designing their welcome sign, and we're doing it as a giant 6x8 postcard welcome sign on a fabric banner that will be hung from the top of the venue.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, that's cool.
I've
Just
never seen that.
again, like stuff that you don't always see. They love to travel. They're postcard people. They didn't want to do a traditional signage suite. So we're going very like fun and funky, exactly what they wanted to do. And again, I think that's like the misconception, is that here's all the list of things you need. Here's the correct way to do it. If you don't do it this way, you're not going to have the content or the experience that you really want. And therefore, you're not going to have your dream wedding. And I think that's just so silly, because
I feel like what I was thinking as you were sharing all that is, like, with social media, sometimes I think people want to have a wedding that is for social media and for others versus for themselves.
Totally.
And there's a huge difference. You've been to a lot of weddings, obviously. And for us, we can feel it in every aspect at a wedding when it's one way or the other. And it's
100%.
and like, it's for yourselves and for your loved ones. Beyond that, who cares what anyone thinks? But again, it's hard to. And then when adding vendors in the mix makes it hard too, because some vendors care more about content. But it gets hairy. But having someone like you that's kind of like out of the gate setting the precedent with your couples and clearly communicating what's important, I think is incredibly valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah. It should be fun. It really should be.
It should be fun. And I feel like if you are rooted in who you are, and you bring that, and also like the beauty of like sharing more personal parts of yourself through your wedding day for your your guests. It's like they get the privilege and the joy of seeing a little bit more inside of like who you are. And that's like truly, so like, I think like such a gift. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to just breaking the mold and
Totally.
doing whatever the
it's
hell
slowly-
you want.
It's slowly breaking down. I think we're getting there. Awesome.
What is something, I mean, we've already kind of talked about this, but what is something like a strong opinion that you have? What is a strong opinion you have for the wedding industry?
Which partially, I feel like in some way you've discussed with what we just talked about, but if there's anything else.
Yeah. So, again, what we talked about, that everybody feels like there's like the right way to do things. And like we talked about, the best weddings are the ones that feel very personal and true to who you are. So I don't want to let or have my clients feel like tradition or expectations or anyone besides them and their fiance should be the ones to plan their day. It really should be a reflection of what you want your wedding day to be. I think another misconception is that a lot of people do not understand the complexity of what a planner does for a wedding day.
Let's talk about that.
Yes. Yeah. So not just the planning part, because the planning part is such decision heavy. It is a time of your life when I think you are forced to make the most choices at one time in a small period. And this is what a lot of vendors talk about, the decision fatigue. It is so real. It is so hard to continually make choices that feel so weighted over and over every single week. It really, from like a mental health perspective, it gets to you, because it feels like, oh my gosh, should I choose the right thing? Should I have done this? Should we have spent less money on that? Well, what if we want to do this? Now we have this. Like, it's just, it creates a lot of anxiety around it. So part of the way that we have mitigated that is by planning in phases. days. I say to all my clients, I think it's very important for you to not plan the entire period that you're engaged and to enjoy the fiance period. It's such a fun time of life, and it's a short period of life. It's, it's very fleeting. So you want to have times when you can really, truly just be present in your fiance time and not have to feel the burden or the stress of these decisions kind of compounding down on you. And having a planner to be there, we are helping guide, we are helping make those decisions. We are, slowly pushing you towards one way or another based on, needs, wants, specific goals, and everything in between. But on the back end, every font, every decal, every item, everything takes time. And I think that again is the common misconception with planners is all we're doing is basically giving you a list of who to book and giving you suggestions. And then we show up and we make sure everything goes smoothly. And there is just so much more involved. We work off of one of our assets is called the DEevents Wedding Workbook. It's a comprehensive 12-page Excel document that has budget, checklist, registry, seating chart, vendors, contracts, everything you could need to plan a wedding day. And I feel like when clients see that, it gives them a little bit more understanding of what goes in. We're not just booking the vendors. We are booking the vendors, thinking about every person's timeline, what's conducive to their flow, what items are associated with each day. And then, moving forward for the wedding day, we work off of what's called the event order form, which is usually like an 8 to 12-page document, goes through every piece of information for the entire day, which obviously gets shared to vendors. But what I say to my clients is wedding days are very dynamic. Things go wrong. Things always happen. And the hope is that you acquire a team and a, leader, a planner that is able to think swiftly, quickly, and confidently on their feet to have solutions for these problems. Because as the planner, if you don't know the answer, no one else does.
Yeah,
Right.
it's so
It's
true.
it's up to you to make that choice and be so confident that that's the right choice moving forward, because it's not like this is, a rehearsal. This is showtime, baby. You get one chance to do it, and you want to make sure you have people that feel, like a really strong grounded base behind you to ensure that your vision, efforts, and all the money that you put into it is going to be executed perfectly. Right.
So that brings up an interesting question. How do you deal with that as it relates to because I think in general, we've been doing this for 17 years. So we've kind of seen it all. We've dealt with insane things over the years. And so now we're at a point where we are really coming with a sense of calm on the day. And something that we always advise our couples, just as far as stress on the wedding goes, is we have never photographed or filmed the perfect wedding, but everyone got married.
Exactly.
So nothing else, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's impossible to expect everything to go absolutely perfect.
You can plan as much as you want to, but
Because you're
Human error,
it involves people, right? Hundreds of people.
Hundreds of people.
So it's so the question is do you ever have any concern if a client wants to look at a vendor that has very little experience and is newer to the industry? How do you navigate that sort of thing?
I think with vendors, that's tricky because, the bulk of what we do is partial and full planning or somewhere in between there where we are providing vendor recommendations. I feel very blessed to have gotten to know so many incredible professional people over the past 5 years of me working in the industry. So there's, I have a vendor recommendation form that, only my team sees, but that I feel very incredibly confident about every single person who's on that team and feel confident that they will show up and do what they need to do. I don't have to mother them or, really watch over them. That being said, every once in a while, especially because of budget purposes, we go in a different direction with somebody who's a little bit newer. And I think it's hard to vet when you've never, there's only so many questions you can ask them without actually seeing them on a wedding day. So, I like to be super candid with my clients in that space. Like, I'm never going to recommend somebody that I haven't worked with before or know someone who's worked with and had a really good experience with them. And, we do as much as we can to pre-plan, make sure that we have plan A, B, and C ready to go. And that if we do need a pivot, that the people who are pivoting with us are aware of these changes and feel also confident about the new direction we're going in.
Right. Yeah.
So that honestly, transparency is key. Disclosures before a wedding day, really having those conversations with the clients of like, we do everything we can to make sure that you have the most perfect day.
And your
But
team.
ultimately things happen. And, I don't even like to say things go wrong, more just plans change. And, sometimes we plan to have our bar decor in a very specific way and we get their day of and the bar space is smaller and the bartender's like, this is not conducive to my service. I can't have all this stuff on here. And we have to move. So, that's something that we tell clients beforehand, that ultimately, you're trusting our judgment to act on your behalf. We will always try to keep your priorities in mind. And we talk through where every item is going, where, it's being set up, how it's being set up. And ultimately, if something needs to change, having the understanding that it's not going to affect you. The day is going to stay seamless and happy and fluid. And, it's still going to be your vision, but there may be things that may be tweaked along the way.
Yeah.
Plus, no one will know.
Exactly. No one but you will know.
Yeah. And it's interesting, like as a vendor and being kind of on the inside of everything, like when we're at weddings, we will like pick up on all these things, but most people are they just don't really.
They have no idea.
Yeah.
They
They're just happy to be there and to celebrate and have
Yeah.
fun.
Exactly. Even, the very small handful, 3 total, more chaotic weddings that I've worked in my 5 years, and where things did not go as smoothly as planned. The guest experience, 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Those 3 events were all like, the end of the night, the guests were like, "Oh, that was the best wedding ever. It was so beautiful. It was so perfect. Everything was seamless." And on the back end, we're like, yeah, totally. That was seamless.
I'm gonna take a week off for that one.
I think I just aged a year from one night, but that's okay.
Yeah, we've had plenty of those weddings where for us it was very difficult, but we on the outside we were calm, but on the inside we were like, okay, this is like we're in war here. We need to survive. And then at the end it's just all hugs, and thank yous and that's the exciting part for us as vendors, that we get to have a glimpse of that and to feel good having been part of that. Like I think you had mentioned this before about just like that satisfaction of being able to be part of their lives in this way and to give. And for you at the top of the food chain there, like all the pressure is on you, but you also get so much of that good feeling at the end of it.
Well, it is. It's an honor and a privilege. It's not something I take lightly. And I think that, I've heard from clients before of vendors in various categories saying like, well, you should feel lucky that I'm here. And maybe not saying that word for word, but that's the vibe, that like, I'm coveted in this industry and you get to have me be part of your day. And I just think that's not, again, it's an honor and a privilege. You are being
Absolutely.
chosen to be part of a small team to craft one of the most important days of people's
They
lives.
trust you. Like what an honor.
What an honor. It's not a weight we take lightly at all. It's something that I actually put a ton of pressure on myself, because it's not just about wanting to perform for my business, which, we do.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
But I want to make sure that these people have the best day of life. Their families have the best day of their life. Their friends get to celebrate in such this glorious, joyous way. And, it's really, it's such a fun day. Being at weddings is again, it's a very surreal experience to watch such intimate moments and memorable moments. It's monumental change happening in all of these people's lives, and you get to be a part of that, and it should be looked at
How
as
lucky are we?
exactly.
Yeah. I love what you said about performing. Yeah, I feel like first and foremost, like we are hired and chosen to perform for our clients. You know, like that is why we're doing this service. Not to first and foremost perform for ourselves.
Right. Well, it's like I think there's two ways of achieving success as a vendor. One is you take care of your clients and everything else takes care of itself, which is, it seems like we're aligned in that approach where it's like we've always chosen to do the right thing, even when it was hard or set us back in certain ways.
Yeah.
But in the long run, 17 years later, it's like we've never enjoyed this more than we do today.
Yeah.
You know, and we're just so lucky to be able to still be part of this.
Yeah.
And then there's the, you know, if people do it in service of themselves, which can still work very well, you know, it's just a different way. Like that's more of the ego side of it. And like you're lucky that I'm available for your date and that I could be here and like.
And I think those people get more burnt out easily.
Absolutely.
I just think it's also just it can't be fulfilling if that's your, you know, but who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows?
We're not them, so.
I don't know.
I mean,
So
But
when we're
that's
talking about burnout and
Yes.
mental health, I think this is such a important topic to talk about, not only as vendors in this industry where we give so much of ourselves all of the time,
Yep.
but also when you were talking about our couples that have to make decision after decision after decision. So let's talk about mental health a little bit. So you have a background in psychology, which I love. How do you be mindful of mental health in your business for yourself professionally and personally?
Great question. I think for myself personally, what we were briefly talking about is I've really tried to hone in on, my creative side of my personality is a huge part of who I am. And it's something that I feel like sometimes I do lose with wedding planning because it's all creativity. The bulk of what I do, I spend at least 3 to 4 hours a day doing design work for my clients. And we're not just creating the overall design of the wedding. I do floral design, we do signage design. I'm making every single asset, every mock-up for every menu, place card, seating chart, bar sign, table numbers, everything. So and I love it. I love having that creative aspect of it because it makes me love what I do on the wedding days. It makes me excited to get up every day. And, I like wake up thinking about a design and I have to grab my computer. But it is hard because, you lose that part that is so important of yourself that becomes consumed by weddings. So I've recently taken up watercoloring. I have just found it really relaxing. And I've been able to take a couple breaks recently and go to the beach with family and friends. And watercoloring on the beach is the best form of therapy. I highly recommend. And it's, watercolor, I feel like is a little different than painting because everything is more blended and fluid and, there's really no mistakes. You can easily just dab some more water on and fix it. And I've been, framing them and giving them to friends. And I met my client yesterday and gave her a framed photo of a poppy. And she, it's like something that I go to the Dollar Tree and get these frames. It costs me $1 to do it, but it's definitely very meaningful for other people and just a fun hobby. So I think that, and then again, like taking the breaks for myself and for clients is important. I think that weddings are so consuming for everybody, and it really does fill all of your mental space as the planner and as the clients. And having those natural breaks for me in my season and for my clients in the process are huge because it allows you to come back in feeling refreshed, excited, and more motivated to pump out good work and make those tough decisions.
Yeah.
For the client side, that is something, again, like the basis of my brand is a planner that feels like a friend. I want my clients to come on these calls and feel not just excited to chat with me and make these decisions with me, but also feel like they can talk very candidly to this person that is holding some of the weight and pressure that goes into this day. There is just so much anticipation, excitement, but also anxiety. And again, the financial burden of weddings, it really does weigh very heavily and it takes a lot of the fun out for my clients. So we plan in 4 phases. Phase 1 is heavy planning. So we are meeting pretty much on a weekly basis, kind of laying out, ironing out every detail. We are booking all of our vendors. We have all of our preliminary designs planned. Our tablescapes, our rentals are, deposit down secured. Usually that process takes about 2 to 3 months, depending on the client and where they are. And then we take a break. Usually about 2 to 4 months, again, depending on the client and the date. But this is a time when I tell them, do not think about planning. I want you to remove it from your brain.
Go do something for you.
Exactly. Like really try to enjoy this time and enjoy the anticipation of the wedding without the anxiety of the planning.
Yeah.
So coming into phase 3, which phase 2 is our lull, where again, no one's planning. We have our break. I'm always there. But there's questions that come up, emails that happen. Obviously, you're not going to be 100% not planning, but you don't have to feel the pressure of making those decisions on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
Phase 3, we come in, we start working through our event order form, really going through all of the details of the wedding day, thinking through things that most of these clients never have thought about. Like, do you want your parent dances before or after dinner? Do you imagine your first look being, a tap on the shoulder or a hand grab or 5 feet away and he turns around? So really trying to put them in the space of their wedding day and have them think about these things so that going into the day, it's very clear expectations. They know what's happening. They know how things are going to work from a logistical standpoint. Because, the reality is a lot of people have only been to a handful of weddings, especially being a younger planner and attracting younger clients. A lot of my clients have not been to that many weddings, and going to a wedding versus experiencing a wedding are very different things. And so there's no way, they think of the first look like, oh yeah, I want to do the first look. And then you talk about 12 different options of how the first look could actually play out. And it starts to, again, spark new thought patterns in actually thinking about how your wedding day is going to work.
Yeah.
And then during phase 3, usually that's less than our phase 1, usually only, a month or so. Bulk of details are kind of finalized. We're working through all those fine-tooth questions. And then we take another break, because during that last period, about, maybe 4 months before the wedding, usually shower, bachelorette is happening. Yeah. You're having your final calls with all of your vendors. And then 2 to 3 months before the wedding, we come in to do all of our month of prep, really ironing out everything else, finalizing on our end, our event order form, our team timeline, our master timeline, which goes through like minute by minute. Bouquet is moved from hand to every little detail. And then we walk through that with them. So they're not just seeing, the forms that they have filled out to get us to this point, but they're actually seeing the back end. They're actually seeing how our team is operating on a wedding day and every little movement, every little thing that we're doing, not just, again, from the event order form, the master timeline, but our specific team timelines that are grouped into myself, my assistant, and the bridal assistant, and working through every single person's role and responsibility for their day.
That's so valuable, I think, to have that transparency and to show them, because I would imagine for us, if we were a bride and groom, which we have been, it would just give us peace of mind, being like, holy crap, they're doing so much. This is so detailed. This is overwhelming for me. I'm so glad that they're taking this on.
Sure.
I think there's a lot of value in that. And there's a huge difference in planners and how they operate, and also what we end up seeing. But we have planners that, like you, are kind of, it's minute by minute. And usually when we're kind of doing our day of based off of that, we pull out, we're like, we don't need to know this. We don't need to know that. We don't, so we kind of give it for ourselves. But because I would assume that's just not always a typical approach for how you do it.
No. And we do, in our event order form has our key moments. So that's a little bit of the less information and more of like, okay, first dance happening here, entrees going out here.
Yeah, that's for us.
Yes, exactly. That's usually what gets sent out to the vendors. Recently I have been this season sending out the master timeline to the photographers, just because I find that they have found it really helpful to, again, kind of see everything that's happening in the back end, and having the time period. Like I just this week had a conversation with a photographer where we were kind of tight for time for grooms getting ready shots, and ultimately we moved things around. But if we didn't talk about that, if I didn't send the master timeline to her, she would have not flagged that. And from my end, I said to the clients like, hey, this isn't a ton of time, but if it's just like 2 or 3 shots, that's fine. I didn't realize that those clients were like, no, we want him to have his full getting ready photo experience. I was like, okay, great. Then we'll allocate more time for that. I think another thing that has been helpful this season that I started to incorporate is the must-have shot list, not from a people perspective, because I understand that's the photographers, they need to have the clients fill out that form, but from a moment perspective. I had a couple clients last year who, when we were in the middle of portraits, they were like, oh, I want to do this shot, or I want to do this shot, or do we have time to do this? And it kind of made me think like, okay, wow, brides and grooms are not necessarily thinking about what content they want on a wedding day until it's the wedding day.
Right.
From a planning perspective, everything needs to be planned. Every thought needs to be laid out. And that being
You don't
said,
want to think about it on the wedding day.
no, not at all.
Think about it
And
beforehand.
also like, if we're in the moment doing portraits and we're like, we have 10 minutes left and they start asking about these other things, obviously we'll do everything we can do to accommodate, but sometimes us and the planner were all like, oh yeah, no, okay, yeah, let's figure this out. So it just add kind of like a level of stress. And then if you have like on the video side for us, video is more complicated because there's a lot more gear and prep involved. So like when those timelines get tight, it can cause a little bit more stress, than we want to be able to make sure we could still be ready for the next thing.
Exactly. There's such limited time. I tell everybody 10 minutes on a wedding day is 3 hours. So
I like that.
It's so true. It's so true.
and no one but a vendor understands how quickly the day moves.
Oh my gosh.
Snap of the finger and they're on their last song. So if you don't plan out all of those moments and then the day's over, you don't get a redo. It's not like you can go back and get that sunset photo when it's 11 p.m. So I really like to try to get the brides and grooms in my head of everything that I've seen. And again, transparency is so key. Just like
really is.
disclosure, talk about absolutely everything. And just had a conversation yesterday with clients who they decided to opt out of transportation and they're getting ready at an Airbnb and we're relying on Ubers. And where they're getting married, there's no holding space, there's no bridal suite. They're getting married at a park in Center City. So it's a timing thing. And I told them, I was like, I can guarantee we are not starting at 1:30 on the I can tell you that for sure. And if we're okay with this flexibility, that's totally fine. But also like kind of disclosing to the groom, you're going to be seen. If you are arriving when guests are finishing arriving, you are going to be seen. It's not like you're going to have this big grand reveal because again, there's no bridal suite at this ceremony location. So that's something they're like, oh, you know what? Actually, I didn't even think about that. And that's what we want for them to think about everything.
Right. That's why they hire us. That's why they hire a team.
And that's why we love having
experience.
planners on the weddings that we're at, because a lot of times things get kind of pushed to us if there's no one else planning, which we're happy to do, and we're pretty good at it. But
I want to photograph the wedding. Like that's what I want to do.
but like
we can keep people on track with timeline and stuff like that. But like you guys are you're irreplaceable. You're you do so much.
I mean, people hire you
to
to
allow
that.
You do so much. And I love that, that you have that mental health background or you're just conscious of it. Because I really do feel that it's so important for, and maybe I'm just like, maybe this doesn't matter to couples, but I feel like it's really important for vendors to be open about mental health because, not just like with the wedding day process and the planning and just like the of all of that, but just like themselves too. Like if I were a newly engaged couple, I would want to hire someone that is like, that takes their well-being in priority.
Totally.
Because if you're taking care of yourself, especially with the job that you have, I feel like you're going to take care of me, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
What is that saying? You can't
Pour
pour from an empty cup.
Yeah. Oh, like whatever you're, whatever you're pouring is what your clients are going to get. So if you're overwhelmed yourself and anxious ridden and just like all over the place, you're pouring that onto your couples. If you are calm and present
And confident.
and confident, you're going to pour that onto your couples. So like whatever's in your cup, you're pouring. Whatever it is.
We want this like fun, fruity juice to be poured. We don't want like plain Jane water or
Which is
Oh.
what I love about the work that you do and your designs is because it's more playful and fun and colorful and like
Yes.
whimsical, and like those are really fun weddings to be part of.
yeah, yeah, we love that. I don't see a lot of like white and black anymore, which every once in a while it's great and it's fun to have
And
that.
for some it makes sense, you
Yeah.
know, but
And the ways to do it more interestingly too.
Yeah.
right. And I always like for video, I think about on the when you deliver a highlight film, there so many people expect or want the like overly dramatic and like emotionally driven film, but like I think it's easy to have emotion but have the whole tone of the film be really fun and upbeat.
And
You
playful.
still have that, right? And that's I mean, at the end of the day, we're always doing what our clients want, so we're happy to accommodate any preferences, but that's usually like the angle I'm going at of like, it would be fun if we went this direction or whatever. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah, I love that. But yeah, no, it's the anxiety with wedding planning, the mental health stress is totally real from a planner side and from the client side. I mean, I would say more than not, my brides are anxious girlies. And it's something in my personal world. I've struggled with mental health in, early in my life in high school and worked
Same,
really
girl,
hard
same.
through therapy. And it's something that I think is really taboo to talk about because as a wedding planner or a wedding vendor, there's like this mentality that you have to be perfect and you have to be 100% all the time. And we're doing this because we're creative people and we love love. And that most of the time creative people are mentally unwell.
You have to be a little mentally unwell to be in this industry for a long period of time.
Totally. But I think for brides too, I the past year I had a wedding in June and she really struggled with her anxiety throughout the process. And one thing I do on every one of my calls, we start by looking at our checklist, which really gives them peace of mind to make sure we stay on track. And I end every call of, okay, how do we feel? Are you guys okay? Do we feel stressed? Is there anything we want to like highlight for our next call? Or is there anything you feel like you need? Do we feel good?
Yeah.
And I think that, repeated check-in at the end of every call makes them feel like, because if they're not okay, they'll tell me. They'll be like, no, I'm so stressed. And I'm like, okay, what can we do? What's the biggest thing that's weighing on you right now? How can I take that weight off of your chest? Because it doesn't feel as heavy for me. So if you want to give me some of that, that's okay. But I think it's a really hard thing to do, plan a wedding. And especially without a planner.
And especially with the state of the world today, like who doesn't have some
I
sort
wasn't gonna go there, but in the back of my head, I'm like, it's just
it's so hard. Like there's so much more expectations now, and you have social media, and you have that comparison monster that's just like sucking your joy like a vampire.
well, then there's just the chaos of
The chaos of
actual
the world. Yeah. And then you're like trying to plan this wedding that, you want it to be fun. You want it to be like, a breath of joy for your people. And you do carry a lot. And I find that, especially like in our, maybe just like, I don't know, maybe it's the world or, the country, but we carry a lot of our stress and our anxieties to ourselves. And I think like, again, we were talking about transparency. When we're transparent of like, okay, I'm feeling anxious right now, or I'm not doing well, like you're allowing yourself to be seen by another. And, you say like, we talk about mental health, it's taboo, but I find it very refreshing when we talk about it because it should not be taboo.
I think well, like by you being vulnerable, it invites people to be vulnerable with you.
Right. Like, oh yeah, I've struggled with anxiety too. Like, let's help each other hold that, like you don't have to hold it all by yourself in this planning process. And I think that's such a beautiful thing.
And I think that's why that bride specifically connected with me really early on, because she told me on our inquiry call when we talked that she was really anxious about the planning process and feeling very overwhelmed and stressed. And I was like, girl, I get it.
I know what that feels like. Yes.
Yeah. And it's, you want to have this genuine connection. You want to feel like the people that you're working with are people and not just professionals. And I think, again, having that vulnerability, that sense of security, and that confidence in your team, and makes the world of difference going into a wedding day.
Yeah, I do feel that there are some couples that look at like the planners as like gods and goddesses, like you control it all. And yeah, like that's just like it's crazy to put that much pressure on you because you are human. And I think that when we bring out the humanness in everyone, it's like there's this like understanding of like, yeah, we are human, and she's
Human
not
error is
you
real.
are a goddess, but like you're not holding it all like a god, you know?
Yeah, no, I am just a girl. I'm literally
Just a human girl.
I say that all the time.
I have a shirt that I wore to the Olivia Rodrigo concert that says, "I'm literally just a girl." And I think it's important to remember that, again, I know we talked about this already, but like the human error is something that's unavoidable. And the transparency of letting clients know, which I tell every client before their wedding day, things will happen. Things will not always go perfectly to plan. And ultimately, we're going to have the best wedding day, and you're going to leave with your new husband and wife, and, feeling so happy and fulfilled, and, that all of your efforts and hard work were so worth it. But if the card box is moved to the different table, that's okay. It's okay.
We're gonna let go and we're gonna surrender. We're not gonna sweat the small stuff.
That's
So, since that was pretty heavy, that conversation, I just want to lighten it up a little bit.
Sure.
I love
So, like two like quick lighter questions. If you were getting married tomorrow, and it could be anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Italy.
Yeah.
Why Italy?
I want. I mean, it's Italy. I mean, everybody loves Italy. It's a gorgeous place. I think that it feels very romantic, and I just love everything about the country. I love the food. I love the people. I love the views. I love the sense of disconnect that sometimes you feel when you're there. It's very less like, I don't know if you get out of the touristy areas, nobody's taking content. No one's taking TikTok.
People are just living.
People are just living. It's very authentic. And I think as a planner, I have been to, I don't know, upwards of 80 weddings, probably more at this point. And it's hard for me to imagine my wedding day at places that I see previous people at.
Yeah.
And or being in spaces that, like I have watched XYZ planners plan weddings at this, and now it's the comparison of, oh, well, I need to make it this good or better. I think too, like there's a lot of the focus again as a wedding planner. I mean, I'm sure you guys see every industry professional who gets married gets some sort of article or feature or content, and it's very much about the content. And I think for myself, which is in conversation, we are, just kind of talking through really what makes sense for both of us. My partner and I have a really unique story. We've known each other our whole lives. And, for me, having the same sort of wedding that I've done and planned over and over again and will plan over and over again, it just doesn't feel authentic to who I am. And, as much as I love my Philly wedding vendors, I want some of them to be guests, and I don't want all of them to be working. And, I haven't been able to find a way around that. So I'm moving into another country, and hopefully, that alleviates some of it, because again, it's going to be totally new. I want my planning experience to feel, I want to feel like a bride. I don't want to feel like a planner.
Yeah.
you know, working with an Italian wedding planner feels more authentic than me planning a Philly wedding myself.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So you may know this about us, but we did a 10-year vow renewal in Italy,
In Tuscany.
in Tuscany.
I love that.
So if you are looking for a venue,
Well, it wasn't actually a
well,
venue.
we made it a venue.
Yeah, we found this really beautiful like Airbnb, like this villa, and I'm like, because I couldn't find exactly what I wanted. Like we were gonna have 25 people. We wanted to have everyone stay in the same villa, and like for a whole week. Like I wanted to rent it out for a whole week, and I couldn't find like an actual like venue.
Okay.
So we found this place on Airbnb, and it was like one of those things where I'm like, okay, the pictures suck, but the views look beautiful. Like I can see it. I see it. And then I like, I was speaking with like the manager. He wasn't the owner, but he was like the property manager, and he seemed really amazing and accommodating. And I was like, you know what? Like I had that feeling that I'm like, I need to just trust this feeling. So we booked it, and the first time we really like saw it was when we were there, and it just blew our minds. Like just mountain ranges upon mountain ranges, and like where we had the ceremony, it was just like this beautiful open view. And our guests, like a lot of our friends were meeting there for the first time, and
Yeah, a lot of different parts of our lives coming together.
and it was just like instant connection, and like it was the most magical experience, I think, still like
Yeah.
one of the most
Well, I think
magical
so. Like, part of the reason is that we were 10 years into the industry at that point.
So yep,
So-
we've seen a lot.
Yeah. So, like, what's great about being a wedding vendor is you learn pretty quickly what you do and don't like, or prefer, whatever. So we were very adamant on being 100% selfish about everything. You know what I mean? And when we did that, it was a very emotional day, but it was so fun and beautiful and light and just, and like everyone came together and everyone pitched in different ways, and like we didn't have a hard plan on a lot of different things. So we just kind of came and we were all creative about how we, navigated the whole thing. There was an actual high, I feel like, that we all felt for like 12 months,
Yeah,
kept
totally,
talking
like-
about it. And now when we're with the various friends, like we'll always reminisce, and it was such a special like vignette in our life where like you said earlier, like we were disconnected from the world.
Yes.
Like one of the things I love that was like such a highlight for me that we didn't ask anyone to do, is one of our friends knew us, and that we really do value presence. And so kind of like an unplugged ceremony without there being a sign, he was just like, I want everyone to put their phones on this table. Like I know we know what they want. And everyone did without it. I mean, we didn't have the greatest service there anyways. We had Wi-Fi, but like everyone was just like so truly present. And
Present. Yeah.
yeah. So I just love that you wrote that because
That's so beautiful. I think too, like,
intimacy and
yeah.
authenticity.
As wedding vendors, I'm sure you guys see it too. We see every bride anxiety, everything that they regretted, everything that they wish they did differently, every moment of, uncertainty. And I know myself very well. And unfortunately, our guest list would be like over 280 people because of family and friends and everything. And that just doesn't feel right to me. It doesn't feel like who I am. And it's something that I almost feel like I wouldn't be able to be as present because I would want to be in my planner space. I feel like it would be really hard for me to disconnect and be fully immersed in my bridal moment versus making sure every detail is executed to perfection. Versus, doing something in a very intimate way, 60 to 80 people, and in a setting that even if something goes wrong, you're in Italy. And
Right, you're in Italy.
yeah, exactly. And honestly, less
Drink more wine. It's so cheap there.
and less people involved in the day creates less human error, and having something be a little bit more low key and a little bit more softer and fluid and personal just feels like more aligned with how I envision my day.
Yeah. And everyone there would be intentionally chosen.
Totally.
And that makes so much of a difference. Like
I like to think of like, I don't know if you consider that technically a micro wedding or, but just smaller weddings like that and micro weddings and elopements, it's like, I always think of it as like cutting the fat of like a wedding experience. And not that that's a bad thing. It's just kind of making it so intentional and pure. Like everyone is specifically chosen, like Melissa said. And when we, were inviting our guests, the nature of my relationship with my family, most of the family wasn't there.
Yeah.
Because that's what made sense. And I didn't invite them out of guilt or, expectation. I think adding even just one person that you don't wholeheartedly, like absolutely want to experience that with,
Yeah.
kind of, you feel it on the wedding.
Yeah. I saw a video last night, I guess it was on TikTok, that it was a girl talking about how like anything but an elopement is a performance. And I hate that that's like the negative view of the other side of wedding planning.
Yeah.
But it is.
But it
It's
is, yeah.
it's like I said earlier, it's showtime, you get one chance to do it right, and the weight that couples feel to have the details executed to perfection in every moment is what takes away some of the excitement for a wedding day.
Yeah.
And having something that's smaller, more intimate, more remote, less about the formalities, more about the people and the experience, allows for less of the performance side of it, allows for the stuff to go wrong and nobody blinks an eye at it. Because
And that becomes funny and it becomes part of the story. And
exactly.
like the morning of our wedding, a bunch of the girls went to a grocery store to get flowers. They didn't know, and it ended up being beautiful and it worked out and there was a lot of collaboration. And then like you guys, there was like a bunch of the women also did like yoga in the morning together and like, like it was just it was organic in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Organic's a great word. I love that.
Which was not where, suggesting to all of our clients. Definitely get a planner.
Stay in Philly, guys. Stay in Philly.
You need Dani. It's just, yeah.
And Philly's great. We love Philly.
I love the Philly wedding industry. I have a lot of clients from DC and New York who come to Philly to get married.
Oh, wow.
I think that we are one of the top wedding cities in the country, and there's such an incredible saturation of various budgets of vendors, and it's so easy to have such an amazing day in Philly because the options are endless. And I think that's something, that you don't get in DC and New York. Everything is triple the price as it is in Philly. And, a lot of people feel like they have to compromise on everything that they want to have the wedding that they want. So you get married somewhere else.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, it was so lovely talking to you, Dani. I would love to end this on one piece of wisdom that and I think really there's wisdom throughout this whole entire talk.
Yeah.
But if you could give your couples one piece of wisdom, what would that be?
Don't get so caught up in all the ambiguity.
Mm.
Focus on your partner. The whole day is about the two of you. The whole process is about the two of you. The details don't matter as much as you think they do. The overthinking this font versus that font truly won't matter. And really having the focus come back to prioritizing your partner will make the process in the day feel that much more genuine and special to the two of you.
Ah, love it. That was such good advice.
I think that was so well said.
So well said. And so accurate. Yeah, your couples are truly, truly lucky to have you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Well,
And we are so lucky to have you as our first planner on this podcast.
thank you so much. Truly such an honor. You guys are both such incredible, talented people, and people who I know are every client you have is lucky to work with you. I mean, having such genuinity on your wedding day and a photographer and videographer who don't just care about the content and the end result, but really care about the people is something that you just don't always get. So Melissa and Michael, thank you guys for having me. Really appreciate you both.
Yeah, and
Thanks for being here.
we'll see you soon.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.